Welcome back on Newsmaker. Golf is an enormous part of Arizona's ecosystem. We are home to over 370 golf courses. That is a lot of turf, and more importantly, it's a lot of water. Rob Collins is the Water Committee Chairman for the Arizona Alliance for Golf, and he was inducted, by the way, into the Arizona Golf Hall of Fame last year. Rob Collins joins me on Newsmaker. Rob, thank you very much.
Yeah, happy to be with you here, John.
It's great to see you. There's so much going on in the golf world, and you know, even locally when guys are playing, we've had changes in turf, we've had changes in watering schedule. How are we doing concerning golf and water? And you know, you hear people all the time worried about that and that it's a big user of water. What would you tell them?
You know, there's a great story behind Arizona golf and water, and it really started about 40 years ago with the Groundwater Act. You know, today in the headlines, oftentimes we hear in some of our neighboring states about turf reduction and taking out turf and things like that. And I'm not sure Arizonans know that we did that 40 years ago, and we did it by regulating the size of the golf course. Golf courses built after 1984 didn't receive water allocation for any acres over 90. And so for these past 40 years, we've saved that water. Where we hear about others taking out acres, well, we took them out and we haven't watered them. And so we're way ahead of the curve in that regard. But, you know, we're not stopping there. These last several years, you know, we transitioned from the third management plan to the fourth management plan, and this January to the fifth. And with each of those changes, we've had reductions in our allocations. And so our water use is coming down. And certainly many of us are doing things on our own beyond that to conserve water. You know, another, I think, important component to this is that water is a significant expense to us. We spend a lot of money on it. So managing it is in our best interest to manage our businesses. Another, maybe not everyone understands, but another factor is wet golf courses are not desirable to the golfer. They don't like them. And, you know, so there's another huge incentive for us to really manage our water and produce the kind of playing conditions that, you know, that our users want.
Some of the older courses in Arizona, it's just turf, 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 turf all over the place. And then these newer courses are really becoming target golf courses where it's you hit over desert onto a small patch of grass. Some days it's smaller than others, onto another patch of grass if it's a par 5. And then you're hitting into a green that's surrounded by desert. I mean, it's become very target oriented, and that has reduced turf significantly.
No question about it. And I mentioned the fifth management plan. In the fifth management plan, those older courses, well, their water allocations have been reduced to 90 acres or less as well. So everybody is working from the same system. Many of those older golf courses are looking for ways to significantly reduce their turf footprint. A great example of that is right here with our city course, Papago Golf Club.
Yes, total change.
Shining star for sustainability. They're taking out about 30 acres, and you know, they'll be well below 90. It's such a great example of the, you know, the opportunities that exist to reduce water use, take out turf, and still have a wonderful golf course.
So, Rob, there's a couple of things that people don't even think about with golf courses. One of them is it reduces urban heat island effect. So you've got a green belt, so that's good because you have areas where it's cooling. It's almost like a park. Stormwater management. Can you talk about that?
You know, having open areas in urban environments do a number of things, whether it's slowing down the water, the rate that water's moving through the community, producing habitat. I think that's you know, that maybe doesn't get mentioned all the time, but I know at my golf course and every other course I visit, the amount of habitat, natural habitat out there is really significant. And then the cooling effect, of course, you know, all you have to do is walk from the parking lot out into a turf area, and immediately you've cooled down.
Yeah.
5, 10 degrees. It's so huge.
What about restoring damaged land areas? You know, you think about this with some of the golf courses that have been built on landfills. So these become now a thriving place that was once a wasteland.
Yeah, there are many opportunities for that kind of reclamation to take open space and bring golf back into a community, and certainly there are a lot of examples where that's happened. And yeah, you take it from a trash zone to a beautiful park, a golf course, and the whole community gets to enjoy it.
Yeah, we haven't. You know, I know you're not a water quote unquote expert. We've done a lot of shows on water in Arizona, but water, in essence, is never really lost. Even when it goes down the drain, it's going to be reused in some fashion or introduced back into the ground, and it becomes part of the hydrological cycle. With a golf course, can a case be made that when you're watering a golf course over the course of a year, that's also helping groundwater to be reintroduced into the system?
Sure, and knowing that we're using reclaimed water, if you think about, cities like Fountain Hills or the city of Scottsdale on the RWDS line, there are so many golf courses on that line that are using reclaimed water. And so if you think about it, the water was used once, it's being treated and used again, and potentially making it into the groundwater. So really efficient. And when you think about golf using maybe 2% of the state's water and much of that reclaimed, it really is an efficient system.
But it's what is golf in Arizona? Is it? Did I hear it's a $20 billion economic bump?
It's so it's a $6 billion economic impact.
Okay.
In here in Arizona, about half of that is from outside the state. But to give everybody some perspective, we're number 4 in the country. We're the number 4 state in economic activity, behind California, Texas, and Florida. So that's in the world of golf, we're really significant. I think Arizona has a lot to be proud of. We're very efficient water users, and I think we're doing a great job.
Let me ask you about overseeding. This is kind of an age-old question. Is overseeding still in vogue, or are there developments now in turf where you might not have to overseed in the winter months, where you could leave the turf as is and not have to replant winter rye and then go back to Bermuda in the summer? What's happening on that front?
You know, we're fortunate to have a lot of really talented golf course superintendents here that continue to push the envelope in terms of just new grasses and how they're applied. And so there are a number of renovations that have gone on or are going on now where we're introducing new grasses, such as zoysia grass. That's one not many have heard of, but it's a more durable winter grass, or it's more durable when it's dormant than Bermuda grass, and so it holds up better to cart traffic and divots and the activities of golf play, and that's one that's gaining some attention right now.
Does it hold its color?
It holds its color.
Wow.
And you know, many don't know, but oftentimes we use pigments to enhance the color at times through the winter months, and we do that for aesthetics,
Sure.
obviously, and whatnot, and that's been a really effective tool for us. But there are also new Bermuda grasses that are emerging, and some of them are using 20-25% less water than the older varieties of Bermuda grass.
That is interesting.
We continue to get better and better.
Okay, tell me about irrigation. Are there irrigation breakthroughs? I keep hearing, you know, we might end up with in-ground systems so that you don't have the evaporation issue. That, in other words, it would be a massive drip irrigation system on a golf course buried in the ground. But boy, that's a maintenance nightmare, isn't it?
You know, so subsurface drip irrigation has been used in agriculture for decades.
Yes.
Very effective. And we've had that resource in golf and turf for a number of years for specific uses. At my course, we've been working with the USGA to develop that concept to expand its use. And maybe treat larger areas such as tees, maybe even fairways. And I think we're still a little ways off, but that work is emerging right now. We're working on it. We're trying to figure it out and deliver water to the root zone, to the plant, without exposing it to the atmosphere, which is far more efficient.
Rob, a couple more. Right now, in terms of percentage, I think I said there were 370 golf courses in Arizona, something like that. It's a big number. What percentage are using treated water, treated effluent, to water their golf course versus either groundwater that they're pumping out at their site or other uses of potable water?
You know, the specific percentage, I can't tell you. I can tell you that many of our golf courses were built there in the 80s, and many of them are tied to communities. And I mentioned Fountain Hills and Scottsdale, and there are other newer communities where that infrastructure was part of the development process. And there's so many golf courses out there now using those resources, and there are many more that would love to have access, and hopefully that's something that we can develop over the coming years.
Final thing, since you're in the golf world in Arizona, you're tied in. When are we going to get a major here? And I'm thinking obviously the PGA, because now that you move the PGA to May, I think that brings Arizona in play. If that were to happen, is anybody talking about it? Is anybody pushing? And can you think of a site, a potential site?
Well, we have some fantastic golf courses, no question about it. I think that we could probably pick out a handful of sites very quickly. And you're right, that the PGA at that time of year certainly would be a great opportunity. I'm not aware of that. I'm very excited, though, that the Mid-Amateur is going to be here in town this September at Troon Country Club. That's a wonderful story, and for those that love to see fantastic golf and it's certainly at a great property, that's going to be a real opportunity here this year.
I want to see a PGA here. I think there's no reason Arizona can't do it.
I agree.
All right. I think you need to spearhead that, Rob. Rob Collins is the Water Committee Chairman for the Arizona Alliance for Golf, and he is a Hall of Famer now in the Arizona Golf Hall of Fame. Congratulations on that, and great to spend some time with you.
Thank you, John.
Rob Collins, thanks. And we'll be back in a moment on Newsmaker.